Hello everyone, Andrew here, and today we're going to try something a little different. I have been searching for a new Xbox controller. I'll explain why in a second or two. And I have picked up two that I thought I would share my thoughts on and experiences on with you, and maybe it will help you when you're looking for a controller too. So the first one that I picked up is the 8-bit do, or 8-bit do, I don't know how to pronounce it actually, Ultimate C wired controller for Xbox. And sticking with the theme, the second one is the 8-bit do Ultimate wired controller for Xbox. Both of these are the darker shades, as you can see. One is actually a grey and the other one is black. So that's what the boxes look like. As you can see, they're both certified by Microsoft and fully compatible with the Xbox, so absolutely no worries there. You have no concerns whatsoever. As you can see, they even have an Xbox button, so all of that part is good. So now let's actually unbox them and take a look at what the controllers themselves look like. So here is an overview of the controllers themselves. This is the, I'm just going to call this one the Ultimate C so we can distinguish it. And over here, this is the standard Ultimate without the C. And here, just for comparison, is a wireless controller from Microsoft, the standard carbon black. Now, as you may have noticed, the ones that I purchased both have cables, and they're not the wireless models. As you may have noticed, the two new controllers I purchased are wired rather than wireless. This is because I wanted to try an experiment, if you will, because one of the things that I was reading about is that the wireless controllers have a slightly slower polling rate, which means how often the controller actually talks to the Xbox or the Xbox talks to the controller, and then from there registers your movements or your button presses. Both of these wired ones should have a faster polling rate than the wireless one. Okay, and now first of all, if you look, you can see the design, although very similar, is ever so slightly different. The 8-bit DOE controllers are slightly more rectangular and the handles are slightly more interned. I don't know how to describe that. The Xbox ones branch out slightly more. I've already played a couple of games with these controllers and it doesn't really seem to make a difference from what I can tell you so far, from what I've been trying and doing. One thing I will tell you is that the controllers feel smaller in my hand than the Microsoft one. So if you have large hands, that might be something that you want to be aware of or pay attention to. But I don't feel like that makes it, at least for me, harder to grip. It's actually fine. I have no issues with that. The other thing I will tell you is because they don't have any batteries in them, they are of course lighter. So again, that might be something that's useful for you to know if you feel like the standard controllers are heavy after an extended playtime. Okay, the main disadvantage / advantage of course is the cable, because one, you get the faster polling rate, you get the ability, or rather you lose the need to actually charge the batteries on the controller, so you don't need to worry about charging. You can game as long as you want. The big disadvantage, of course, is the fact that you have a cable and you have to deal with the cable. So there is that to bear in mind. One other thing that you should be aware of with the cables is this one here on the Ultimate C controller is a USB-C cable that actually plugs in here, but it's their own special cable and they made this hole so only their cable fits, which is a bit of a shame. I'm sure if you hunt around you might be able to find a cable that can fit in there. I'm kind of a little bit sad that they went the custom cable route, but you know, that's just worth mentioning. The other thing worth pointing out is that this cable is the complete cable. I think it's probably about 2 meters long. This cable is also, I think, somewhere around 2 meters long, but the difference with this one is that you have this section here, and what this is, I try to do it with one hand, you can disconnect it. The idea being that if somebody walks in front of you while you're playing and catches himself on the cable, it's just going to disconnect and it's not going to pull your Xbox on the floor or damage anything. That's not something I want to particularly test, to be honest with you. For me, it shouldn't be a factor because I'm not playing on the TV in the living room. I actually have a desk with a monitor on it where I actually play. And so for me, that means, you know, the cable is just going to be lying on my desk and won't be tripping anyone up or causing any other issue. A couple of other things that are worth mentioning, so you can see them right off the bat. Number one is that both of these controllers have headphone jacks, as you can see right there. And this one, the C controller, these rings here, these actually light up. Yeah, so you've got some RGB here, you've got some RGB here, and you can adjust those. So they can flicker, they can flash, they can shine steady, they can react when you move the sticks. It's up to you. You do that by using this center button here, this, let's call it star or favorite button. And you simply hold that, and by moving the D-pad up and down, you can adjust the brightness or adjust the style of the LEDs. I'll show you that later on when it's connected to the Xbox. Otherwise, it's very comfortable to hold. It has a nice, I don't know if you can see it, it has a nice textured grip here on the back. Yeah, so, you know, when you're holding it, you don't feel like it's slippy or going to fall out of your hands. The size is right, the sticks should be Hall effect, so hopefully that means less chance of stick drift in the future. And the triggers at the front are also Hall effect. Yeah, so all in all, this should be hopefully a controller that will last you a while. Now moving on to the other controller. This one I got because it has some slight differences to the first one. First of all, you may notice that similar to the Elite series from Microsoft, you have these lights here and a button here. And as you can probably guess, that means that on this controller, you can also create profiles. So you can create a profile for different games and then switch between them with this button. So that's something that in the past has always came in handy. I previously had the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller before this, so that was a feature on that particular controller that I used a lot. Now on the underside, you have these two paddles here that you can also program to use different functions on the controller. You can basically set those two buttons either to do nothing or to replicate any of the button presses that you see on the top or sides of the controller. So they can replace triggers or, you know, one of the actual buttons like the B or something. One of the reasons why you might want to use it is, for example, if you play a lot of shooters and you're holding the controller like this, so you're moving and rotating your camera with this and shooting the triggers, then taking your finger off the camera to launch a grenade or something, you know, it can cost you like your life, or it can cost you at least like some damage or something. And so having this little one tucked under here that you can press to launch a grenade or something, so you can actually shoot and throw the grenades with this at the same time, comes in useful. One thing that this one has that the Ultimate C one doesn't appear to have is this one also has vibration motors in the triggers. I don't know how I feel about that yet, actually. Some people like it, especially for racing games or for shooters, just for the feedback. I'm the kind of person where the vibrating bothers me, and so usually I switch it off in game so that I don't have to deal with it. So I'm debating what to do with it here, whether to try it or switch it off. Last night when I had this plugged into the Xbox and I was playing with the settings a little bit, what I noticed as well is the motors inside, I don't know if they're different strengths or what's going on, or if it's just the design of the enclosure inside, but this one kind of vibrates like off axis and shakes the controller. This one seems to vibrate in place and makes a more high-pitched sound. And it's the same on the triggers. These triggers make different sounds than these triggers. Whether that's on purpose or not, I don't know. That's something that we can take a look at and see. One other thing that I want to mention about these is that they have their own software that you can download for free from the Microsoft Store. That software, in the case of this controller, let me update the firmware, but not anything else. And for this controller, I didn't see any option to update the firmware, but it does let you customize the profiles. Other than that, the software is kind of basic, I would say. There's not a lot of features there, but at the same point, I mean, what else do you expect? As you can see on this one as well, by the way, I should have pointed this out sooner. This one actually has a button for the microphone, so if you want to, you can mute your mic. Okay, and now just put those to the side for a second. Let's talk about the Microsoft controllers and what made me consider looking at different ones. Because to be honest with you, okay, let's look at the Microsoft controller and talk about what made me buy something different. Because generally, I do think Microsoft have made a very, very good controller. I think out of all of the controllers I've used, I like the Microsoft controller the most. Just because of the way it fits in my hand, the way it feels. I like the fact that the sticks are off-balanced or off-centered or whatever you want to call them. Just this seems more natural to me, it suits me more, and I'm quite happy with it. So the reason why, though I've been looking at these others, is because this is probably my third or fourth Microsoft controller. I originally had an Xbox One. The controller that came with that one, the left bumper stopped working, and the right stick would actually stick, and so in some games I wouldn't be able to do anything except run in a circle, and it was random when that like happened, and so sometimes it was really frustrating, especially as I can give you an example. In one particular game, everybody on my team was dead. I was the last one alive. The other team were also dead. All I needed to do was run to the objective and to the marker, and we've won. And I couldn't run. I was stuck running in a circle, and I was stuck running in a circle no matter what I did, however I moved the stick, no matter what I tried. And I could never move forward. I just was stationary in the spot, in a circle. And of course, the other team respawned, killed me, and we lost the round because of that. So that was really frustrating and annoying. And that was one of the things that, made me consider buying something else. The second thing is that I had an Elite controller, as I've mentioned a couple of times. That's a wonderful controller. It feels very premium, it feels very nice. I was really happy with it, except about a month after the 2-year warranty stopped. It got really bad stick drift in both of the sticks, and no matter what I did with it, I couldn't fix it or get it going again. I did actually try to send it back to Microsoft. In the country I'm in though, when the website pops up, it never was able to generate the page that prints the shipping label for me. It kept giving me an error, and every time I tried to contact support, I kept getting routed to the community support, which in this instance is useless, or a bot, which never let me connect to a real person. And so in the end, I gave up, and I actually switched to just using the carbon black one that originally came with it. On this particular controller though, the headphone port is not working, and so I can't use team chat, which is kind of awkward and difficult when you're playing team games. So yes, that's that means this one is kind of relegated now to being a co-op controller. So if I'm playing with somebody in the house, it's fine, but otherwise, just if I want to play by myself, I'm not doing a team game and I actually want to sit somewhere else other than right next to my desk, at least I have a backup controller for that. But unfortunately, as I say, it's no longer the main controller. Now with these two, I don't know actually how to explain this. I've read before, or I've seen before online, where people say that we associate quality and prestige with weight, and so in the past people used to put weights in mice to make them feel more premium, and I think it's kind of the same with this, because they don't have any weight to them. They really are incredibly light. You wouldn't believe how light they are. Like on one side, as I said, it's a possible benefit for long play sessions. I don't know if I'll ever be able to test that, because it's very hard for me to play for more than a couple of hours at a time, but we'll see, maybe in the future. But at the same point, it does make them feel, I don't want to throw any shade against 8-bit do, but it does make them feel a bit less premium than the Microsoft controllers, if that makes sense. But that being said, I mean, this one, I do like the way it looks. I do think it looks very nice. I would argue this can even look, a bit more premium, especially when the LEDs are on. I'm not really a big fan of RGB. I think maybe I'm too old or not the target audience for it. But at the same point, I do think it looks good on this, and especially when I'm gaming at night and I don't have the lights on and so on. It's just kind of nice. Yeah, I will say that. It is kind of nice. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's important to you, but it's maybe something worth knowing and worth considering. Okay, and so now let's go plug these into the Xbox and see how they work. Okay, and now just to give you an idea before I start with the controllers, this is my desk, and so you can see how I have the monitor and the Xbox, so you can see why the cable isn't really that big of an issue for me, because I'm not going to be in anybody's way or blocking anything or so on. And I'm sorry for the state of the desk, it's a mess. I'm always trying stuff or testing stuff or playing with different stuff, which is why there's a lot of cables around, and some of the other random things that you see here are presents that my kids gave to me, so that's why they're there. This is the A500 console that lets me play old Amiga games that I'm reliving my childhood on. And this is, if you haven't ever seen it or heard of it, this is Kit from the television series Knight Rider. This was a series that I actually loved as a kid, and so my kids bought me a model of the car, just being nice to me, and that there is supposed to be the driver of the car that was given to me as a present as well, so that's why those other things are there. But now, without any further ado, let's get back to the controllers and plug them in and show you how they work and what they look like. Okay. One of the things I actually want to mention before I go any further is the feel of the buttons. All of the buttons on here, they're this kind of, it's not clicky, it's kind of soft. I don't want to say mushy because it's not really mushy either. It's kind of soft. But even the D-pad feels good. And the main thing for me is that it's very quiet, because again, when you're playing in a house with kids or with people who are sleeping or whatever, then these clicky little noises can wake them up. And if you listen to the Microsoft one, can you hear that? So when I'm playing something with this and I'm using the D-pad and the buttons, and now this one for comparison. Yeah, so you can see that's a big difference. Let's start up a game. Let's try Street Fighter so that you can get some idea of what this looks like. Okay, so let's see if I can show you this. So this is Street Fighter, loading. This is the disadvantage of living somewhere rural where you don't have fiber or Starlink or something. Okay, oh no, let's not look at all the new stuff. So let's try training mode just to see. So here you go. Here you can see the controller. You can see the responsiveness. You can also see that I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, but you can get an idea of how this is working, and you can see on the side of the screen there what I'm actually pressing. And you know, I mean, for me it feels good, it feels responsive, it feels like I'm doing something. You know, it reacts when I want it to react. So like for, whoops, doesn't help if you hit the tripod. For me, like, this is great. Like, I can make this work. Yeah, you can do something with this. Okay, so now let's switch over to the other controller so you can see what that looks like. Okay, this is the Ultimate C controller we're going to switch over to now. Let me switch it on. Now you can see what the rings look like when they light up, and there you can see how it looks when they're solid. Okay, so now let's go back to showing you the controller in action. So again, like, this one feels just as good as the other one to me. Feels very responsive. I don't feel like, you know, there's any lag between the two of them when I'm doing something. It's reacting, and if you can see the side of the screen over here where all the move and the inputs are, you can see that it's going by really fast. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with these actually. I think that they are very good controllers. Okay, so now just to summarize what I've said so far, I do think that the controllers are excellent. I just wanted to kind of make that absolutely abundantly clear at the end. They are both very good controllers. I think I prefer this one, the Ultimate C one, actually. That's the controller I'm going to be using the most. Price, in terms of price, the main difference for me with these controllers is this one and this one both cost the equivalent of about 40 American dollars, whereas this one, at least here, is double that price. So that would be $80 for this controller. So I got two for the price of one new Xbox One. Hopefully with the Hall effect sticks, you know, this should last a bit longer. I believe this one has the Hall effect sticks too, but I was having some trouble finding that in their marketing material. I believe they do a version 2 that does have them, but we can check that out in a second when we go look at their website. But this one for sure does have Hall effect sticks. One other thing that I wanted to mention in closing is that just because I chose the cabled versions doesn't mean that that was the only choice. They do, and by they I mean 3-bit do, or 3-bit do. I will never pronounce that properly. If somebody knows the proper pronunciation, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, they do also make wireless controllers, so I just wanted to point that out. They offer a whole range of controllers for Xbox, for Nintendo, for PC. Actually, these ones, if you plug them into a PC, they will be recognized as an Xbox controller, so you can use them on the PC straight away. The other thing that I wanted to mention at the end is that this video is not sponsored. I bought these controllers myself just because I had a need for a new controller, as I mentioned at the beginning, just to replace the faulty Microsoft ones. And 3-bit do has not sponsored me, or they're not aware of this in any way, shape or form. Anyway, if I had to recommend one, I think I would recommend this one. This one's a close second, and I think obviously it's going to be down to you by yourselves to, give them a try and see which one feels better to you. But if you have any questions about any of them, then just please ask me in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.